So, my dear ones, here we are on this beautiful day, this wonderful Sunday, moving toward Thanksgiving and its celebration in our lives and in all life, because there is everything to be thankful for, really. Scripture says, in all things give thanks. It doesn't say in the good times, in the times, in the bad times. It says in all times give thanks. And that's the key to turning what doesn't seem to be good times into great times. Thanksgiving. The thankful heart, the willing spirit, and the open mind. What a combo. And when they are unified, there is no obstacle that can succeed in taking us away from our trajectory, our path back into self-realization. This month was dedicated to us being more aware, of beauty and grace. We were asked to focus on beauty and grace this month and be aware of it all around us, but most especially within ourselves and in our own lives. So when that you're lost, sit down and say to yourself, oh, look, goody, I'm beauty and I am grace. When was the last time you did that? Here you are, beauty. Here you are, grace. And what are you going to do with all that beauty and all that grace? I tell you, when you come to that understanding, at least in the moment when you come to the understanding, for however many seconds or minutes or maybe an hour it is, life is glorious. And you really are in tune with the lightness of your being, and the trueness of your being, and the essence of your being, and so am I. However, we are here in this beautiful place called planet Earth. It's a beautiful blue-green jewel in the cosmos. You look at it in space and it's gorgeous, and you don't see anything of what's going on the planet. You just see this gorgeous orb, this kind of lapis lazuli orb, and the green hues in there. And it's just awesome. If you ever watch any of those Cosmos shows, really, they're just mind-boggling. And yet they're small in comparison to what is in you. Now, that's hard to swallow sometimes, especially when you're feeling wretched, and you're feeling unable, and you're feeling less than, and you're feeling you're not enough, and you're taking on board all that the world tells you are, all that your family tells you are, and all that your friends tell you are at times. You take it all on, you start to believe it, and then, nothing really grabs you, grabs your attention, and pushes you into power, presence, and passion. Now, if you and I are not experiencing that blessed Trinity, we're really selling ourselves very, very short indeed. We're empowered, more passionate, and the presence is always with us. And yet we live such small, narrow, puny lives at times. Forget ourselves. We simply forget, and that's our problem. Our problem is one problem: we forget. We forget. We don't know anymore who we are, what we are. And then we believe what the world tells us we are, what the family tells us we are, what the friends tell us we are, what life in general tells us we are, what the powers that be tell us we are. And we get less and less inclined to listen to the truth within ourselves. I like when Marc says, and that's the truth from Ruth. Because now we get to say to him, well, is that the truth from Ruth? Monica can say that a lot, I'm sure. We all can. But you see, he's right. He's absolutely right. The truth can only come from one place, and it is from within you, and it doesn't matter how many people are telling you their truth or who's telling you the truth. It means nothing unless you've connected with the truth within yourself. Know ye the truth, and the truth will set you free. It doesn't say, listen up, everybody, all you crowds out there, know the truth and it'll set you free. No, it says, know you the truth, and the truth will set you free. And yet, look how many people are afraid of the truth. They're afraid of the truth. Yourself, you've been afraid of the truth at times too. And that seems silly in a spiritual way of thinking. We want to know the truth and become one with it. We want to be free and experience what it is to be free. Can you imagine if you felt fully free within yourself? You wouldn't care tuppence about what anybody was thinking or saying or doing or being. You would know who you are, and that would be enough for you. You wouldn't have to keep proving to everybody how wonderful you are, how good you are. And no, that's not the truth. They don't really know. You wouldn't even go there. That's what makes the mystics mystical. They could care less about what the outer world thinks of them. That's why they never judge. They're never in argumentation with anybody. They never enter into, proving anything, discussions that try to do that. No, they don't. They just stand there and smile at you. Bless you. Get on about their business, whether it's weeding the garden or cooking the food or sweeping the pathway or whatever. They cannot be sucked in to all of the dichotomy in the outer world. It's not where they live and move and have their being. They just smile. And not because they're on candid camera. They just smile because it's coming from within them. It's lovely to be in the presence of those people who are so together, so self-aware, so secure in that nothing bothers them. Nothing at all. And they can cope with any aggravation that crosses their path. No matter how big the aggravation is or small, they can cope with it because it doesn't touch them. It doesn't touch them. They can't penetrate into that inner sanctum that they are. They're so one with life. They're so respectful of life. They're so honoring of life. And the evolutionary vision in our community is that each and every one of us is amazing grace, that each and every one of us is love and beauty, that each and every one of us is that individual, unique, individualized expression of life, the one life, because there's only one life. That's our evolutionary vision. Well, now the word evolution gives you a clue there. We're on our way back into it. It's like a circle back into the heart. And then we have that wonderful, wonderful concept, that timeless knowing in our teaching. That sooner or later, along the trajectory of our lives, we're going to come back to center again. It's a timeless vision. That we will wake up one day and find we are in experience, not just in words, we are the indwellingness of the one infinite intelligence. Somehow or another, we are. And we can use that infinite intelligence, that power, that presence, for the good of ourselves and the good of all life. We can take the gift that is ours, and we can actually use it. Not abuse it, but use it. You see, the only evil in the world is our abuse of that one power, our misuse of that one power. That's what creates evil. It's not that evil is not in the world. You don't have to have too much proof of that. You just only have to look out and see. But where does it come from? It comes from within ourselves, our misuse and our abuse of that one power. because we're asleep, because we're so ignorant, because we haven't awakened to ourselves yet. And that's the reason why you and I are here in these gatherings, so that we can be assisted, can all help each other to get there a bit more quickly than trying to figure it out on our own. To get back to where we once belonged, as the song says, to spirit, to spirit. Get back into our own self. To thine own self be true, as Shakespeare said. Man, know thyself, the first words written over any temple in ancient Greece, over the temple in Delphi. Man, know thyself. They didn't use inclusive language in those days. This is my own joke, excuse me, gentlemen. They had to say men because the women were already there. And I know my people, they're okay with a joke. That's how the women in the past and up until this present moment try and make up for the fact that they still haven't achieved full status in society yet. But that's all silly nonsense, because we're all the one thing. No matter what, we're the one thing. And you can't compare this part of spirit to this part of spirit and say this part of spirit is better than that part of spirit, or more this, more that, whatever, less this, less that. We're all the one thing, for heaven's sakes. And guess what? You've all been men and women in your past lives. So, that's why we can actually live with each other and understand each other, because somewhere in our remembrances, we understand. We do. We understand. And if you have dreams sometimes, don't be surprised if you're in your dream as the opposite sex. It can happen. So I'm going to ask each one of us today, what has brought you to this moment, in this time, in your life today? What has brought you to whatever you're experiencing, whatever's going on in your life? What is it that has brought you here into that experience? And why is it that when you look out there, you think, well, they've more of this, and they're more advanced than that, and they have succeeded more there, and they have achieved so much. I mean, look at Oprah. Come on. She came from rags to riches. And then you'll say to yourself, but that's Oprah. But you know what Oprah would say to you? There's no difference between me and you. There's only the difference in our responses to our life situations and circumstances. Don't start giving yourself a chance to get off the hook by saying, but Oprah, or but this, or but that. She did it under her own auspices. And so did all the other people whom we all look to and admire and treat as superstars and envy. Such nonsense. Such nonsense. On the other hand, you have a Mother Teresa who lived in the lap of poverty. Had nothing. She had a bucket and 2 saris to her name. They washed 1 sari every night in the bucket of water for the following day. And look at her influence. You see, it's a silly business, comparing and contrasting. Very silly business. And all it succeeds in is to annoy the living daylights out of you. I don't know how she could do that, but I mean, if I had the same opportunities that he had, I could do that and even better. What a waste of our time, effort, and energy. We could be spending that in the company of the presence within us, growing exponentially into our true essence of being, and not being bothered by all the nonsense around us. When you can get to the stage in your life that you could care less what anybody is thinking about you, could care less about what anybody is saying about you, you're well on the way to that centered place of being, well on the way But all the time you're worrying about what other people are thinking and saying about you, you're decreasing your power to be all that you are. Now, we've all done it, and we'll probably still do it to some extent, but at least catch yourself on when you're doing it and knock it off. Pull your wits about you, as my mother would say, and straighten up your shoulders and get on with it. Get on with it. With what? With life and all its fullness and all its livingness and all its opportunity, and be aware of all of its glorious beauty, grace, and opportunity available to you. But that all has to pass through you for it to become a reality. We have this timeless wisdom that is ours. And it is timeless, but your time on the planet is not timeless. It's only a kind of a breath, and it's on to the next experience. But you do want to leave this planet feeling okay about it, feeling, well, okay, I came, did the best I could, and I'm ready to go on to something great and better now. Instead of like so many people I know who've been thinking, oh, I shoulda, I coulda, I wish I hadda. Why would you wish at that moment of transition that you coulda, woulda, hadda? Instead of saying, oh, goody, gumdrops, I'm getting to go on to a much more expanded version of my life and on to the next phase, graduation time, advancement time, and say, thank you, world. It's been sweet too bad, as they say in the West Indies, but something better awaits me. It's like the Dalai Lama hitting the mosquito and his interviewer being shocked. So sometimes I just say, go and be something better. Well, I think that's what transition does. Go and be something better. And above all else, you've got to have laughter in your life. You've got to be able to laugh. You've got to be able to smile. And a smile is the greatest power that you could convey when you're out there in the world. Smile and the world smiles back at you. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone, as the old expression goes. What are you going to do with your time that's left to you on this plane? That's the question for today. What do you want to do? What are you doing with it now? What exactly are you doing with the time that's given to you now? What's your day like? What's your week like? What's your life like? Well, if you're not having a good time somewhere in between, then I think you need to revisit the planning board of your life, and change up things a bit. You're supposed to be here having a good time no matter what. And a good time means you can laugh, you can smile, you can still pull yourself together in alignment to be able to make a difference in somebody else's life. And just smiling at somebody sometimes is enough. It's enough. Steve Martin. He is an amazing man. He has many TV shows, and not Steve Martin. What's the other chap's name? Steve, the chap that does with the little children, and he's all kinds of game shows and everything else. Yes, he's got a great laugh. And that kid came up from nowhere. But when he was 6 years of age, he made up his mind that he was going to be on television. He wrote it in his little book and handed it in school, and the teacher brought him up, and he said, oh, she must be pleased with what I wrote. And he said, I'm going to be on television when I grow up. Instead of that, she really ridiculed him and said, now tell me, young man, what makes you think you're going to be on television when you grow up? Anybody in your family in television? No. Anybody in the neighborhood in television? No. Anybody you know in television? No. And on top of that, he had a very bad stutter. And everybody just laughed. And of course, later on in life, when he became very, very, very successful, from the very word he had success, he used to send that teacher, the latest television he could find, and send it to her as a gift wrapped, you know? And now he was invited actually to go and speak to all of the billionaires when they assemble up in Vegas every year. All those billionaires come together. And he says, well, why are you asking me? I'm not a billionaire. I'm not nearly a billionaire. And they said, we're asking you because we are where we are because most of us had an inheritance and we built on that. But you had nothing. In fact, you had all the disadvantages going against you, and look at you and how successful you are. That's why we're inviting you. It's an amazing thing. You see, and everybody in that position, Oprah says the very same thing. She had a rotten chronic childhood, poverty and all the rest of it, and yet look where she is today. She's one of those billionaires. So it doesn't have anything to do with your start off in life, what your circumstances were or are. Right here and right now, you can change all of that. Why? Because if you have the power in touch with the presence and you have the passion, the 3 Ps, you can do it. But you have to have that energy pushing you to begin with, pulling you to begin with, until it's just second nature to you now. See? But you're not believing me. You can't believe me. The only person you can believe is yourself. For goodness sake, stop believing all the nonsense you've been telling yourself and at least have a bash at this. Tell yourself the truth until the truth becomes a reality. That's the way we do it here. Tell yourself the truth and the truth will become a reality. When you tell yourself the truth, you'll begin to feel it is the truth. And when you begin to feel it is the truth, you're on your way to experience it being your truth. Does that make sense? Well, if it's going to be, it's up to me. Say it with me. If it's going to be, it's up to me. Now say it like you believe it. Now say it like you're committed to it. Oh, for goodness sake, you can do better than that. If it's going to be, it's up to me. And so it is, my dear ones. Give yourselves that pat on the back. And now we have that wonderful opportunity, as we always do, to return to life a little bit, for all life is given to us. And to do it with that sense of action happening. I give, it's not taken away from me. It's a seed I'm sowing. It's going to grow and it's going to come back to me. If that's what you think and know and feel, that's what happens. So let's take our gift between our blessing hands and say, divine love consecrates my gift. Goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper. All those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good. And I release my gift with love. So it is. Thank you. Comes up with, if there's any veteran here, would you like to stand, please? We'd like to honor you and acknowledge you. If there are any veterans. For all the veterans looking into, bravo. And we're delighted with the honoring and music as well. Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Andy. And just know that we appreciate you all, we really do. It's not just one day of the week that happens. It's always. We are very, very aware, and we keep all of our armed forces in our prayer. And one day, there'll be peace pilgrims. Amen. Reverend Katherine.
I decided maybe announcements again wasn't a great idea. This is the time in our service where we honor our mission statement, which is to honor your presence, both in the room and online, to nurture your spirit and enrich the lives of all we serve. And this is a letter from someone who's remarking on how we do that. I am writing to say how much I appreciate the classes that Redondo has been giving. In the past months, I have taken part in several classes over time, and it has meant so much to me. I find that the more time I spend in these classes, the more time I spend thinking about the ideas in the books and in the classes, and the better I feel all over. Sometimes there's an idea that I just hold on to for days, and I'm very grateful to have something positive to occupy my thinking so much more of the time.
That's a wonderful letter, and we have been keeping our classes small because in smaller classes we do so much more awesome work, and in smaller classes everybody is heard. No few people are just, all the time being the ones that are presenting their views. So nobody can describe it until you've taken them and experienced it for yourself. So kudos to all you beautiful students that are taking classes, and we know many more will follow. It is an opportunity today to realize that nobody ever makes it to the top or any other place alone. There's no such thing as a self-made anybody, except in the one regard, self-made by Spirit. It takes an army of people to help us along the way. Just when you sit down to eat your dinner, it took an army of people to put that food together so that it would reach you and you could enjoy. So that's why it comes naturally to us to look out for each other, to be interested in each other, to care about each other, because it's in our spiritual DNA to do that. And if COVID has done anything, it has certainly brought that more acutely to the front of our awareness. And I want to thank everybody everywhere, especially those of you looking in and those of you in the room, for all the great good that you are responsible for, especially the great good you know nothing about. You know about some of it, but most of it you know nothing about. You have no idea that the kind of energy you have can affect somebody in a store, passing somebody when you're on a walk or whatever. So keep up the good work. Keep giving yourself away, your good self away. That's what we're here to do. Give our good selves away, and the more we give our good selves away, the more good we have to give away. That's the way it is. So thank you all. I could list this, that, and the other, but I just want to say to you as an individual looking in, I'm saying it to you, thank you. To you as an individual in the room, I'm saying thank you. Because I know it's not always easy to be the best of ourselves. Now, we're going to have our prayer. And the prayer we're going to pray is for everybody in uniform, everybody who's signed up to guard and protect their countries, especially this one, so that they can do it in a way that doesn't compromise their integrity. So let's know the highest and the best good for each of these brave individuals who do such a thing. There's only God, and get used to understanding and feeling that that God is you on planet Earth right now. So you get to be the God presence, and I salute that in each and every one of you. And again, all salutations to those who guard and guide and keep our countries safe. May all work together under the one principle that we all belong to each other. We all belong to each other. And if we keep that in mind, perhaps we'll do better with each other. And I want to say a big thank you to the gentlemen. Where's he gone? Jim and Andy. And that was wonderful. And to each and every one of you, thank you so much for participating in the ongoingness of this wonderful legacy that we have. And know that it's deeply appreciated by all of us here. We do appreciate that. And we're going to get ready now to have our peace song, and then we're going to take a little break and enter into Richelieu Hall and celebrate our membership, our fellowship, and our togetherness. So, let it be known that each and every one is the seminal influence of Spirit on this plane, the deliberate creation of Spirit to be here on this plane now, and is the apple of Spirit's eye. So with that in mind, we're going to sing our song. Celebration for Thanksgiving, remember, okay?